to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. I am, of course, your host, Marcus Nez. How are we all doing? I think I may be a little bit sick. I feel so not great that I actually pulled out one of them free COVID tests I got, that we all got, and I took it. And it showed up no COVID. At least I think so. I Googled the test results because maybe they're somewhere in the box. I think that there might have been a little pamphlet inside the box. But on the outside of the box, there's not a lot of instruction or explanation of anything. It just shows you shove this thing up your nose, swirl it in this little test tube, then dip this piece of paper in the test tube. It's gonna come up blue or red. What do those colors mean? Fuck if I'll tell you. All right, cool, love you, but no COVID. Just don't feel great. And why I think I don't feel great is because, and I don't have much to talk about in terms of games or shows or any of that jazz. Again, this episode. That is in part because y'all are aware of my situation or what I went through with my father. I've talked about it to some detail in the past, but I've not regurgitated it episode after episode. Though I am going to talk about it here to some degree. I'm not going to go into too much depth either because it's just... It's a family matter. No Urkel. Did I do that? And whatnot. But my father suffered a severe stroke last year and came home in, I think, mid-December and's been showing improvement. It's been gradual, but he's able to do a lot of stuff on his own. But he still deals with confusion here and there and little things that are and difference in personality and other slight changes here and there, and you know it's going to be a long journey to recovery, a long road to recovery. But this past weekend on Saturday, he said he was feeling a little bit sick, sneezing a lot. But he was showing signs and symptoms of the way he was on the day he had his stroke. So I was very concerned. And I was very nervous and scared. And much of the day I felt the same way I felt before, but having gone through it, it was a bit more severe in my worry and concerns that he may die. I was like, oh God, if he has another one, what does that mean? Is this something he's going to go through all the time? So Saturday ended up being a day where I just spent all of my time with him, tried to keep him from getting too agitated, kept asking him questions to make sure he wasn't getting more confused, because he would forget Biden's name and its exactness. He kept forgetting the D in it, so it's like, oh, the president's isn't like Bean, B-I-E-N, right? That's how you spell it, and stuff like that. And I was really, really scared. But he showed signs of improvement over the day, through the night. I stayed with him until he went to sleep. And he was much better Sunday. But the fear was still there. The scare was still there. And it's been rough since then. I had nightmares when he first got home from the hospital after the major stroke that were crippling in some ways for me. They went away and have been gone for at least a month or so at this point. However, it seems like they have returned after Saturday. Thank you very much. But he was feeling under the weather, and I think I got what he had, if he had anything. I'm assuming he had something, because I feel like I have something. I took a COVID test, nothing again. But I do not feel great. And I was just right up on his ass all of Saturday, just staying right. I just laid in bed with him. But where's I going with all of this? Sunday sign nightmares. Yeah, so those have returned, which was real fun. I went for a nap yesterday and woke up 5 or 10 minutes later because I had a nightmare. In the nightmare, I was looking out one of my back windows at my garage, and in my peripheral vision, I saw a car speeding up the driveway, and it just kept going. It did not stop or hesitate at all and drove right through the garage door. I knew it was my father. There were, when I woke up and started to think about it, there were signs that it wasn't real. The car itself was not my father's car. It was a white car. My father's car is dark gray. But, in dreams, nightmares, I don't know how they work, how your brain works. Because I think there were other slight differences in the design of the garage, etc. But when I saw the car go through the door, I immediately ran to the side door of my house to leave and see what was happening, who it was, etc. And saw my neighbors running up the driveway, and then a car, an SUV, pull up. Some woman I did not recognize in any way, who had a pretty banged up SUV, presumably because my dad had run into her at some point, and maybe he was driving home in a hit and run type of situation. I wasn't sure. I was very confused as to what was going on and scared. And when I got outside and looked at the garage, I just saw my father at the back of him, motionless, leaning over, presumably unconscious, maybe dead. My assumption was, oh my God, my father's dead. And then I woke up thinking my father was dead. And when I woke up, of course I was in bed, so I clearly knew, well, what just happened didn't happen, because I'm in bed right now, not outside. It's evening, not afternoon, early morning. It was very bright out, so when the nightmare happened, when it was occurring, was not the same time of day as it was when I woke up. So I knew, all right, it was just a nightmare. They returned. This sucks. However, I hesitated a minute or so before I was willing to get out and check to see if my father was okay, to go look and see if he was okay. Because there was still that part of me that thought, what if it wasn't? What if it did happen, and then I had to go lay down and I fell asleep, and now I woke up later and I'm gonna realize he's not here because he's dead. So it took me a few minutes or so to go check on him, and he's fine. But yeah, it's been a very difficult and trying time since last year when he had a stroke. when he was in the hospital, and since he's been home, his personality is different. There's just so many little things, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard just living my life in addition to working on actual work, doing this stuff, creating content, etc. So I wanted to mention this and put all this out there because there is a part of me that, and certain people reassure me that this stuff is still enjoyable, that I am doing a good enough job, that whatever, etc., blah, 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 blah. But there's a part of me that feels bad about the state of Pixelated Sausage, the content I've been putting out. I feel like this podcast hasn't been up to the standard I would like it to be, that Attack the Backlog may not. I feel like I am just letting my consumers down, that I'm letting all of you who enjoy watching and or listening to my stuff down, because that's just the way I am. I'm very, very self-critical. As we all know, thanks to the insight of one band named Lit, it's no surprise to me I am my own worst enemy. Because every now and again, I kick the living shit out of me. Very, very smart words. Very, very smart words. But we are often our own worst critics, our most critical critics, because we can't, it's hard for us to ever really objectively, as best we can, judge ourselves. And it's easy to compare ourselves to everyone else, or do the thing that a lot of people do, where I, with my body dysmorphia, part of it stems from watching movies and celebrities and seeing what these people who can focus on their appearance, both physically and facially, etc. So many etceteras. As part of their job. All right. Well, that's enough about that. The Plex journey continues. I am close to being done with the TV shows. I can see the light, except the light at the end of the tunnel is going to, when I get there, it's going to have one final annoying, the worst of the worst hurdle that I kind of regret at this point, in that I decided a long time ago to save the quote-unquote worst for last. And I only assume it's going to be the worst because it is the largest series I have that I own. But it may very well be a set that is super easy and in order and very simple to complete. But that is the Supernatural set, which is comprised of 15 or 16 seasons, 300 plus episodes, I believe. So that'll be potentially a nightmare. The current king of the seasons is Smallville, I believe, with its 10 seasons and 220 or so episodes. But I'm getting there. Can't wait to be done with it. Everything's been a nightmare. So that's exciting. When I hit that point, I feel like a celebration will be required, will be deserved. The hard drive is filling up. My hand may be forced to get that NAS sooner than later. We'll see. But as far as what I've been watching, there hasn't been anything too exciting. I'm really starting to power through Voyager. And it's funny. Spoilers, I don't give a shit. It's not Tess. That's The Last of Us. It's not Ness. because that's the Nintendo Entertainment System. What the hell's her name? Bess? Les? Pess? Cass. She recently had a bit of a makeover, going from her short hair to long hair. And I thought she looked awful with long hair. But lucky for me, they quickly killed her off. I think she was killed off in a grand gesture where she sacrificed herself through the ether, her fucking mind crap bullshit that helped propel the Voyager ship 10 years closer to home. I believe they said is how much time she saved them with her thing. And seemingly, what they did was replace Kess with 7 of 9, who was one of my dad's favorite characters when he watched the show, for 2 obvious reasons. And so far, the series has become more interesting to me. 7 of 9 being a former Borg. Whatever you'd call the Borg person. I don't know what you'd refer to the Borg. The Borg is boring. Probably why they're called the Borg, because it's close to boring, and they're pretty boring. So I'm glad she's getting a bit of a personality back, because watching her, ugh. But I did have the thought, where I am now at the beginning of season 4, is Star Trek Voyager one of the most extreme examples of you have to wait for it to get good, and in this case you have to wait until season 4. You have to get through about 75 or so episodes, and then it really starts to get good. Trust me on it. Just watch them 75 episodes. It's gonna be bad, but then it's gonna get good. Because if that is the case, 1, fuck this show. 2, that's hilarious. There have been a handful of solid episodes throughout the first 3 seasons. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but my favorite episodes so far were a duel, a part 1 and 2er, which I think every Star Trek series has done, where they end up in contemporary Earth. So they're dealing with the culture that we were living in at the time of the series airing, etc. Etc. But they vary in how good they are or are not. They're usually kind of more so silly and just fun in how ridiculous it all is. However, the Voyager dual-parter was really good. It was entertaining, it was fun, but it wasn't stupid. It wasn't super silly. It had a solid story that was fascinating, good acting. Sarah Silverman as a young, bustling scientist. It's where the Doctor got his mobile transmitter that allows him to not rely solely on the holographic system or whatever. So that was a big deal. It was just a really well done, surprisingly so, story of being in our world. But that's the main thing in terms of what I've been watching. I've not watched the newest episode of The Last of Us yet. And I'm pretty much done on any kind of movie rewatches or movie watches. There are a few movies I want to pick up to add to my collection. And yeah, my brain is just a bit of a extra brain fog this episode. And of course, again, Saturday, sickness. I'm doing the best I can, people. I threw together and got some feedback on the Attack the Backlog, the future Attack the Backlog episode. Attack the Backlog episode for Animal Crossing. And solid feedback, so excited to finish up the Punisher episode and then get back to playing games for Attack the Backlog and working on stuff so that I can try and build up somewhat of a... I have no reserve. Well, I have the Animal Crossing episode now, but the last episode, which was Slime Rancher, yeah, I think that was it. That was the last of my reserves. And it's crazy to think at one point I think at the absolute peak max, I had 11 months worth of episodes in the can. So being here with none, again, Animal Crossing, and I'll have the Punisher. Crazy. Thank God I had that. It really allowed me the freedom, the ability to... It was, oh man. But I'd like to start building that up again. I'd like to start just getting on a good schedule in general. I don't even have to have a huge reserve. I like to be constantly working on new stuff, and I really want to potentially get around to trying some new shows, getting back to the anime as well, because that's a lot of what I've been watching is anime, but I don't want to talk about that here. I do want to save that for the eventual return of an anime-only show, which I'm not sure if it's going to be a regularly scheduled thing where it always comes out on Wednesdays, or if it's just going to be it comes out when it comes out, and every episode will be a focus episode where it's specifically about a singular show. So it'll just be my anime content masquerading as a specific show, as Amazingly Baka, but it's just going to be the title for any anime related content, not specifically this is the Amazingly Baka show. It's just, if I'm talking about anime, we're going to call it Amazingly Baka, because I just think that's a fun title. So yeah, that's where we are with all that. In terms of what I've been playing, all I tried out was Prison Tycoon under new management, which is, of course, a prison management game, a simulation game where you are building your own prison and managing the employees and all that jazz. However, and I'm playing this on Xbox. I was playing it on Xbox. I tried it out on Xbox. I have dabbled in simulation games on consoles here and there, which are always a tricky thing to do because with the input method, using a gamepad over a mouse and keyboard, you have a lot of work to do to make it a not cumbersome experience. And with that, you also have to provide, I think, tutorials are varying in their importance, and in cases where games would rather you figure things out on your own, I can understand that, like with Souls games and whatnot. But with simulation games, that is the one genre. There might be others, but strategy games too. Sim strategy games, they both are the kind, especially on console, where your input method is putting you at a disadvantage. They need good tutorials. They need detailed tutorials that are borderline holding your hand, that can be very long, because you really need to understand all the systems right away, how everything works, how to interact with the UI in the most convenient, quick, easy way, and for it to feel as streamlined as possible, for it to feel like it was designed around the controller, and that you understand how everything works, and that you're not confused and wondering what you have to do. Maybe I missed something, but that was non-existent. That is non-existent in Prison Tycoon under new management. I booted up the game, started a new prison. You get the option between 5 locations, which there weren't any descriptions as to what that entails, if it's just a visual thing, if it's just a bit of visual flavoring, or if it does affect the prison and how you have to go about choosing or making decisions. I don't know, because it didn't say anything in that regard. But when I started my new prison, it gave me a few messages telling me how to move the camera, how to zoom in and out, how to rotate the camera. And when that was understood, the directions ceased, and I had a few objectives to create a new building and a few other little things. But no direction as to how I do. There was no explanation, no direction. How do I do that? How do I create a new building? Which menu do I go into? And I got to a create a building thing, clicked it, tried to create a building. It wouldn't let me. And I was confused as to why. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to make a building. What's going on? Because I already had a small building already set up when I started the map. And I didn't realize what the building was a whole. They wanted me to create a whole brand new shell of a building. So this is a building that I would then create rooms within. So I had to create a large space for this building. There was no explanation anywhere saying that's what I had to do. And when I created the building, then it was telling me to do these other things that weren't in the directions. But I wasn't sure. Like, how do I do this? Do I need to connect this with? Wait, what? And that immediately turned me off, and I just stopped playing, because I don't have the time to figure out your game for you. If you're not going to be a party to the learning of your game and all the systems and how the UI works and all of that, it's not on me to do all the work for myself. Especially in a game like this. These genres are ones in which I want, and I think it should be an obligation, to have at least a minimal amount of direction and tutorializing initially to get you at least aware of how everything works, and then they can rip the Band-Aid off. And it also is a case of, with tutorials in general, with a game and a design being made to have you figure things out on your own or not, the less a game explains itself and wants you to just figure things out on your own, then there has to be some kind of hook that makes you willing to put in that effort, whether it be the setting, the theme, the type of game, the genre that is. In a simulation game, for instance, something like the Jurassic World Evolution games could have that theme, that setting that drive you. I don't know how the tutorials are in that game, how the initial setup and everything is, but if they're very limited and you have to figure it out on your own, you may be willing to do so because the idea of having your own dinosaur park is so compelling and worth the investment that you take the time to figure things out. Even though the game doesn't do a good job of doing it itself, you are willing to put in the work and effort because you want to explore that game. This Prison Tycoon doesn't have that. I mean, I've played other prison simulation games, and there was nothing seemingly special about this one that made me want to put in that investment. So I would recommend not checking out Under New Management, at least on Xbox. It's also available on PC. It came out in 2021 on PC. Funny thing too, I saw it on GOG.com, and it has 3 reviews. And one of them is from someone who is a verified purchaser, and they seem to enjoy it, so good for them. I'm happy they're enjoying it. But the other 2 are from people who haven't played the game. One of them gave it 1 star because they're just so, I can't believe we have a game that is glorifying the prison system and abusing and taking advantage of prisoners for your own personal gain. Oh my, it's so American. You wouldn't make anything like this in America. And then you have a 5-star review that says, did I play this game? No. Do I own this game? No. But you know what? I'm sick of this social justice warrior bullshit, so I'm here to counteract that review score. I'm just like, this game has brought out these 2 polar opposite. Like, it's just, why this game? What? Wow. Nobody even knows this game exists, probably. You find a different platform for your politics, people. Just a bit funny. I guess it's because they worry that maybe stuff won't get reviewed otherwise. But in my opinion, only verified purchasers, verified owners should be able to review products on various storefronts. I don't think you should be able to review a game on Steam if you don't own it, if it's on your inventory, in your library. And the same for all other systems. Sure, you may own the game on PlayStation, and it's on all, well, guess what? Review it on PlayStation then. You own it on Switch? Review it on Switch. I don't know. I don't think you can write written reviews on Switch or PlayStation. You can on Xbox, but I don't know about the other consoles. But regardless, if you can or cannot, review the product on the platform you own it on, and if you don't own it on any platform, don't review it, and you shouldn't be allowed to. So that's where I fall on that. But that's it in terms of what I've been playing. As I don't know if I made it clear or whatever the topic. Like, obviously Saturday kind of just put threw a brick in my face in terms of working on content and playing games or doing much of anything, because I was just so concerned, and I'm still a bit in that worry state. So it's hard focusing on any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's much better now, and hopefully that remains the same. That holds true. But that'll do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. I am, of course, once again, I am Mark Kuznez, your host with the most. Nothing. I got nothing. No jokes here. But you can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you'd like to find all my links of import, you can do so over at pxsausage.com. That'll get you everywhere you want to go to find content from yours truly. Speaking of said content, if you enjoy it, and any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can go over to patreon.com/pxs to support me and my nonsense. That link is in the links of linkages. My favorite writer-director, Richard Linklater, maker of the Before movies. Oh yeah. But by supporting me via Patreon, you help make this stuff happen. And the more support I get, the more content I can focus on, the more time I can devote to all this. And in addition to all that, if you support at the $3 or higher tier, you can ask, oh my God, my mouth still hurts. I just remember there's a Patreon question from Lunchbox. He asked, let's just get to this. He asked what my favorite ice cream treat was, I believe. And I haven't had ice cream in over a decade, excluding 40-calorie fudgesicles and the 97% fat-free ice cream sandwiches from Walmart, which I don't count either really because of their diet, quote-unquote diet nature. So they're not real. But, and I mentioned that because in some cases, I think, for instance, Klondike bars, which are one of the things I love, Living Large has said that the recipe has changed and they're not the same. But as far as ice cream treats go, I adore Klondike bars. I did. The texture of the ice cream is just, it is one of a kind and great. And I love the hard chocolate shell. Dipping Dots are super neat and yes, a novelty, but they also taste really good, except for the banana split. That flavor fucking sucks. It is one of the worst artificial banana flavorings in any treat. Artificial banana flavor is usually crap. The banana split, Dippin' Dots, awful. Never had those. All the other ones great. But I love those. I am a big fan of ice cream sandwiches in general. I think those are just really solid. And then my actual number one is, and the equivalent at any other kind of fast food place or whatever, is the Dairy Queen Blizzard, which is just a really thick shake with some kind of treat mixed in, whether it's pieces of Reese's Pieces or Reese's peanut butter cups, cookie dough, Oreos, etc. I think the peanut butter cups were always my go-to. I haven't had one in forever because, of course, it's super unhealthy, super high in calories, just super bad for you. But if I didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff, that would be my go-to. However, this is the caveat. If we are accepting hybrid treats, then I would probably put above that even. Do they call this a la mode or whatever? But you give me a warm piece of crumble top apple pie and then a scoop or two of vanilla ice cream on the side. That I'm a huge fan of those types of contrasts. I am a big fan of sweet and salty together. So, oh God, yes, give that to me. Just thinking about it is making my mouth water. But yeah, if you back Patreon, $3 or higher, you can ask questions like that I may forget to answer on the show until I talk about Patreon, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's a part of the whole thing. Cause I'm freaking, my throat hurts. I'm warm. I'm tired. And I am ready to end this here show. So that will do it for this here episode, as I've already stated. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. So for now, adios, arrivederci, bye. It's go time.